What's up, guys? I'm here to discuss the latest chapter of Bleach 564. Spoiler alert. So this chapter was fairly simple. I'm astounded at Bleach's ability to make 20 pages go by so quickly. They do it with the little dialogue, the very broad, large pictures that they somehow can make feel like the entire page is full of depth and character, while at the same time it's like when you think back it's like, okay, that page was just half of it was sky, half of it was just, very simple colors for most of the page, and it's like, wow, that was a fast chapter. Anyhow, so we got this guy here, and this Sternritter really confuses me because, I mean, he's constantly babbling on about how he's the good guy and the superhero and the superstar, and his super fan James is also on the good side, and we kind of know he isn't, and that's just sort of displayed by the author and how he displays how these people are. Most importantly, probably would be when James keeps getting sliced up. That's just really sick to me because like there's this bald guy and he gets sliced up all over the place into like little chunks, and then he just keeps merging back together like Majin Buu. It was disgusting in my opinion, but it really sort of like brought up the philosophical issues concerning the whole arc as a whole when I was reading this, because I'm like, okay, this guy really thinks he's the good guy, and the Shinigami are super villains, and I know he's stubborn and obnoxious and evil in certain ways, but I mean, I can kind of see it because when you really think about it, it's like the Stern Ritters, like their goal is to, like, what exactly is their goal? To wipe out the Shinigamis. Why? Because they need to avenge the Shinigamis for all the deaths that took out most of the Stern Ritters and Quincy from before, and moreover so they could establish their methodology of extinguishing hollows. And that lies to the central question regarding all of Bleach. Well, not all of Bleach, the latest arc, which is, why the heck are they so stupid as they can't just sit down and talk it over and explain? Because as far as I have read so far, it feels so much like, I'm just gonna say it, the Shinigami are, they're saying all the Quincy are horrible people because they want to kill hollows, whereas Shinigami want to sort of release hollows, and if they keep killing hollows, it will distort the balance between the worlds, which will cause the entire cycle to collapse and apocalypse to happen. Now, why did they not sit down with these Quincy and just explain this? These Quincy seem like very intellectual beings, especially their leader. I highly doubt, from a logical perspective, the leader would be like, he, I don't think he would sit down and say to himself, you know what, that may be true, but I decide I'm going to continue being evil and continue fighting you Shinigami so we can extinguish you all and then start killing Quincy our way, even though I know that the balance of the world will be distorted and apocalypse may happen for all the worlds. That just seems illogical. So that draws me to a few select conclusions. One, the author just didn't think about this. He got too hung up on the minuscule details and forgot about the overarching picture, and it's just a huge plot hole. Or number two, I have forgotten about something which my commenters will may or may not point out. 3, point 3 or option 3 would be that I guess they were just so stubborn as to they never bothered to sit down and talk to the Shinigami about this, and so they never learned about it, which may be the sort of patch to the plot hole. That's the thing with plot holes. You can patch up any plot hole with some long-winded explanation, which kinda fixes everything, but not really. Anyhow, I've gotten too caught up. I'm going to do a page by page of this chapter really quickly. I'm going to go through it real quickly, so it's not going to take too long. So again, it feels like this guy is finally dead, and Renji is won, and I'm a little bit sad because, you know, to his death, he truly thought he was really fighting for the good of him. Granted, I don't care that much because, I mean, he's done some cool, sick things, as has a lot of the Quincy. So again, I'm not completely for the Quincy. They are pretty cold-hearted, and despite me giving a little slack to them for the fact that they've done it for the good of revenge or extermination of Shinigami for the greater good, they still passed on the boundaries a little bit more than necessary. So we now see Renji's shape-shifting Bankai, which happens to be a snake. In certain ways, I liked his old Bankai better because it was like what we now know to be like a skeleton sword version of the snake. But that version was a lot bigger. It looked a lot more cool. Now he's got this freaking turban and this weird sort of freaking Power Ranger weapon thing on. And I'm being slightly harsh. I mean, I like it, honestly. So here we have a little flashback where we get like a little lesson on how everything from Bankai to Shikai was named by this bald dude. And I liked it. The only thing would be he explains that his sword hasn't given Renji his actual true full name. And Renji's like, how can that be? We've been brothers in arms for years. And I didn't find his response to that really good because he never explained, or like he pretty much never explained why exactly his sword wasn't comfortable doing it, and he didn't really like bring out the sword and maybe talk to the sword, because in this manga series, if you've forgotten, they treat swords as equals, and if you don't, you'll never get the full power of the sword. Ergo, why I think Zaraki Kenpachi is going to be super strong once he gets Bankai, if he ever realizes how to treat his sword as an equal. But I felt like I was expecting them to do a lot of similar stuff they did with Ichigo and his sword. You know, bring out the human side of it and then have some sort of inner dialogue talk with it until they could come to peace and they would realize why exactly Renji's sword didn't give his true name. Instead, this bald dude with the beard's just like, I'm just going to give you the true name, and he treats the sword like an object, which is a paradox in itself. He's just like, I don't care why exactly this sword is so stubborn and didn't give you his full name after all these years. I'm just going to give you the full name because I know everything. It's done. A little bit too much, but yeah, I think I'm just being a little nitpicky. Maybe I'm not. What do you guys think? Actually, I don't care what you think. That's my opinion. Next thing. So the sword's name is So Zabimaru. And by the way, I'm not trying to be mean to you guys. I'm just trying out this new thing where I'm not so needy and you know, a pushover. So that's my opinion. And now we got Renji here, and he's got his snake sword, and then on his other, like, then he's got this like billowing fur coat behind him, and then when he uses his hand, it sort of materializes this sort of skeleton, sort of hand arm, which it reminds me of Attack on Titan because I just watched that, and also a little bit of Naruto and Sasuke's thing. But anyhow, here's the thing. I'm gonna show you the picture real quick of Renji and his new weapon. And here's the thing. He's got his new sword in his right hand. It looks like it looks really cool, you know. He's got the spikes, everything. And then his left hand has this materialization of what looks like almost like a shark arm. And I say that because at the shoulder point, there's almost like what seems to be like a shark's mouth. And then the rest of it could just be a bulky arm, but it almost looks like a shark's body. And then you got the fingers, which are skeletons. I just think it looks fairly cool. And then he's got like what seems to be a really long skeleton tail behind him that trails around. And this is supposed to be some sort of new snake form. And he uses this new attack, Sou Zabumaru, and it's like a snake bite. And that okay. Sou Zabumaru is the name of the sword. The attack is actually Zaga Teppo, and then it pretty much burns this guy to a crisp, and then cuts him through the middle. And then that's pretty much the end of the chapter. I truly hope this guy is dead. If the author really wanted to, he could do anything. He could revive this guy yet again. I'm done with this fight. Okay, this fight has gone on for 4 chapters now or something like that, maybe 3, maybe 2, but it's overdone. Why? Because I don't like this villain's abilities. It doesn't spice it up enough. Renji will probably never get to his full capacity with this guy. So I'm ready to see something more, and you guys all know I am waiting to see Kenpachi Zaraki. I'm rooting for him more than Ichigo because everyone roots for Ichigo. He's always the guy who wins everything, and Kenpachi is that guy who's suffered through all of this stuff and is so strong. His character just makes him who he is. He's like yeah, I don't care. This is easy, and he's so strong, and he doesn't use Bankai, he doesn't use Shikai, he doesn't use any of that. He just has a freaking sword, which could be just a stick. It doesn't matter to him. And now he's released his full potential because a lot of people are not clear. But what has gone on is that essentially, and by the way, a lot of people just they read the part where Kenpachi fought the first Kenpachi, and they just glazed over it. The meaning of that is so important, though. It pretty much means that Zaraki Kenpachi, for the last hundreds of years, has been the same power level as he was since a kid, because he has subconsciously suppressed his power level because he could not find anyone stronger than him. Having even beaten the first Kenpachi as a child, he subconsciously gave up on finding someone stronger than him and limited himself subconsciously, while consciously limiting himself in certain ways, such as bells on his body and eye patches. And that means that he's been the same power level for all this time. And so had he grown since a kid, he would have been a greater prodigy than Ichigo. Now, Ichigo is obviously special. Everyone loves Ichigo. Ichigo's the epitome of all 3 sanctums. Quincy, Shinigami, Hollow. great. It's something that's been hinted towards since probably the middle of this arc, and been touted for the last 10 chapters, 10, 20, 30 chapters. Oh, Ichigo is now the perfect epitome of all three forms: Quincy, Hollow, Shinigami. Yeah. And that was like the whole theme of the arc a long time ago, when they were fighting Aizen, and Aizen was also trying to. Well, he had foregoed Quincy, and at the time Ichigo had no Quincy awareness, um, and they were both pretty much. Well, Aizen was doing it consciously, but Ichigo just happened to naturally have it. They were both, battling it out to see who could attain the most perfect form of um, Shinigami and Hollow hybrid. And technically, Aizen did win, but because he outlasted and beat Ichigo. However, Ichigo, with the help of others, was able to stall Aizen long enough for them to finally beat Aizen. So 1 versus 1, technically Aizen won. Just saying. Anyhow, that's all I gotta say for this chapter of Bleach. As always, check out my other videos on other manga. If you're not watching any of those other manga or reading them, guarantee you most of them, if not all of them, are just as good. So you gotta pick those up. I just picked up Attack on Titan from scratch. Now I'm done technically on episode 25. That's all that's out, but it's such a great series. I hope you guys, if you pick up something, watch my experience through with them. I think you'll enjoy it. I did that myself before I started the channel. I would read Toriko or watch Toriko, and then I watch one manga reviewer's video responses because it was like reliving the whole thing again. Anyhow, as always, like, favorite, comment, and subscribe.